Say hello to the 71st Sony E-mount lens, and the first of its kind. This is the Sony 20-70mm f4 G-series lens. How's it going? My name is Miguel Quiles. I'm a proud member of the Sony Artisans of Imagery, and I had the opportunity to spend the holidays with this lens shooting video and using it on some portrait sessions. I walked away from the experience with the opinion that this might be one of the best walk-around lenses ever made. Before we get to all of that, let's go over the specs that make this lens so special. For starters, the 20-70mm f4 G-series lens packs in many of the features that Sony has been using in some of their best lenses. You'll find 2 advanced aspherical elements, 1 extra low dispersion aspherical lens, 1 aspherical lens, and 3 extra low dispersion glass. All of this is to minimize and suppress aberrations and to give you excellent image quality. In order to keep up with some of the advanced autofocusing systems in today's modern Sony cameras, and even those that are coming in the future, the 20-70 G-series lens has 2 extreme dynamic linear motors, which makes autofocus fast and quiet, not just for shooting photos, but more importantly, for shooting video. Looking at the body of the lens, you'll find an aperture ring that can be declicked, locked, and adjusted from f4 down to f22, an autofocus and manual focus switch, and 2 programmable focus hold buttons. The lens is light and compact as well, weighing in at only 488 grams, and it's really close to the size of the Sony 24mm G Master lens. It's also dust and moisture resistant, and it probably goes without saying, but this lens offers 60% faster autofocus than one of Sony's OG lenses, the SEL 2470Z lens. If you're using one of Sony's newer camera bodies, you'll definitely notice the performance differences. With that out of the way, let's get into my experience using this lens for video. I took this lens with me over the holidays in December to a local aquarium. Spending the entire day out with this lens on my Sony Alpha 7 Mark IV, it was truly a pleasure. I like the idea of having a single lens that I could take with me on vacations or for family events, and having this lens go as wide as 20mm adds so much versatility. Before this lens, I would end up having to take something like a 16-35mm and a 24-70mm to give me the flexibility of capturing any wide scenes or tight spaces that I might run into. While I didn't use it the week that I had it, I could see many situations where having the additional 4mm on the wide end would come in handy. If you're used to shooting your video in 16:9, having that wider angle will give you that wider field of view that will make certain environments look great. I mentioned this earlier, but this lens has those XD linear motors. The autofocus is basically silent, so you won't have to worry about your mic picking up the sound of the lens as it's keeping you or whatever it is that you're shooting in focus. Long story short, the 20-70mm G lens is a great option for everyday video use, for vlogging, and of course for content creation. Let's shift gears for a moment and talk about my experience taking still photos. I also had the opportunity to use the lens for 3 different photo shoots, both outdoors and in studio, and in all cases, the 20-70mm G-series lens was remarkable. I typically like to take portraits at the mid to telly end of a standard lens like this, and in that focal range, it captured all of the detail that I like to see in my portrait work. I primarily used the lens with the Sony Alpha 7 Mark IV and used it as I typically do, with continuous autofocus setting and with the wide area focus. Essentially, anywhere that your subject might move within the frame, these settings will ensure that their eye is tack sharp in every shot. The wide angle side of this lens is great when you're taking photos outdoors and you want to capture more of the environment in your shot. Just like it was for video, it was a great lens choice to use as a walk-around lens for portraits and for stills work in general. Here's an assortment of photos that I took with this lens. Most of these were straight out of camera, and some of them I actually went in and I tweaked them in Capture One. While it might seem that the additional 4mm that you get with this lens over something like a 24-70 lens, it might not seem like a lot, but in actuality, it's more than you might think. Those extra 4 millimeters on the wide end essentially give you a 10-degree angular field of view compared to a 24 millimeter. If you're comparing it to something like, say, a 28 to 70 millimeter lens, it's giving you almost 20 degrees wider angle of view going from 28 to 20 millimeters. Just to contrast that, let's say you wanted to add a 10-degree wider field of view on the telephoto end of a 24 to 70 millimeter lens. You would actually have to add 30 millimeters, taking it from a 70 millimeter to a 100 millimeter focal length just to achieve that 10-degree wider field of view. So 30 additional millimeters of focal length. For the photography and the math whizzes out there, what focal length would we land at if we added almost 20 degrees to the field of view? You ready for this one? You would have to add 100 millimeters, taking that 70 millimeters all the way up to 170 millimeters. That's a lot of numbers there, but my point here with all of this is that adding 4 millimeters on the wide end of a lens, it might not seem like a lot on paper, but it's one of the reasons that lenses in this category have shied away from going wider on a standard zoom lens. They almost always go with adding more on the telephoto side. This is why I say that the Sony 20 to 70 millimeter f4 G series lens is special. Getting a 3.5x zoom lens in a compact, light form factor like this is something that I will always have room for in my camera bag. So what do you think about this lens? That's what I want to know. Sound off in the comments section below. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, as we're releasing new videos on this channel every single week. Now, if you want to learn more about Sony lenses, check out the video that you see here on the screen, and I'll see you next time.